Hello and welcome to Historically Accurate Sandcastles, a podcast that is not about sandcastles, historically accurate or otherwise. I am Polly Jean Harrison. I don't know why I said my name so weirdly, but there we go. To tell you a bit about me, I am a journalist. I am from Wales. And fun fact, I once balanced a spoon on my nose for 8 whole minutes. So I'm here today with my delightful guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Thomas Corbett. I'm from Shropshire, and my fun fact about myself is I once met Ryan Giggs and asked him where the nearest chip shop was.
Did he tell you?
Yes, he did. I was 7. I was with my uncle, and of course my uncle pushed him towards me, saying, look, this is Ryan Giggs. This is like a famous footballer in Manchester United, of course, and Wales and the like, and I didn't really care. It being 7 at the time, my main priority in life was chips.
That's fair enough.
He told me, and that was good.
That's a good fun fact.
Yeah.
I'm quite pleased with that. So, Thomas, how do we know each other?
Well, just met you really.
Literally
Just today.
Just right now. We're in a park, by the way.
We're in the quarry.
Which is why you can hear, what's it called? Water.
A fountain.
The word for water escaped me.
Okay. Well, we like outdoor podcasting, I think. It's been a good location for...
I decided that this podcast was going to be not very serious and just a bit of fun. And we had a go doing a bit of podcasting when we went to Birmingham last week. And that seemed to work quite nicely. And we go a lot of places, don't we?
We do.
So I figured every time that you're going to be a guest on my show...
Which might be often.
Let's be honest, it's going to be about 9 times out of 10, it's going to be you.
To go back to the original question, I'm your boyfriend.
You are my boyfriend. Thank you for clarifying. I wasn't sure.
No comment. But what we travel around places. We live best life, and we go quite a few. And every time we go out, we've resolved to take the podcasting equipment with us.
The plan is for this podcast is for me to have various different guests every time I do one. But let's be honest, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be you, Thomas, because I spend probably the most time with you, which I'm fine with. And I'm sure
I'll actually go a solid 7 out of 10 times.
7 out of 10? I suppose we are living far away from each other at the
moment. Yeah.
So I imagine when I finish my masters and move back, it'll be you 100% of the time, because you'll be like
99.
my only friend.
It'll be we're going for brunch in another Shropshire border county town, and we'll be having brunch and also having podcasts there, because that's what you should do, really.
I mean, that is what we do all the time. We are brunch people. I mean, you wanted to take it. We went to a football match last night. You took me to a Shrewsbury Town Football Club football match.
I did.
And you wanted to take the podcast then. I think that would have been a bit too noisy.
Yes,
but it would have been interesting.
It's the nice thing about this bit of technology. You see so many podcasts starting up all over the world, and some really fascinating ones. It's just nice. It's a little bit like putting a message in a bottle and throwing it into the internet's ether. It's actually quite fun. And it's the sort of equipment that, with just a microphone and a bit of technology, you can suddenly record and voice thoughts to the world. So it's quite fun, really. So we're looking forward to what we might get up to.
Podcasting on the go.
Yes.
I'm sure someone's done it already, but I can't think of anyone. So let's say we did it first.
Exactly. Copyright. I mean, this is the first sort of question for you. What is Historically Accurate Sandcastles in your mind going to be? We've touched on it. But...
We have touched on it. So Historically Accurate Sandcastles is going to be a podcast. I said I was a journalist. That's a bit of a lie. I'm more of a trainee journalist, I guess. I'm doing a journalism masters at the moment. So I'm learning how to be a journalist, but I'm a journalist, she says, with conviction. So my whole plan for this podcast was just to have something where pretty low maintenance and low commitment, where I can just have something and put something out and be creative with it. And I know quite a few people in my master's class have started podcasts, but they all have themes. So a couple of guys have started one about films, a couple of girls have started one about girl stuff, I say, with sort of parentheses, it's about being a woman and female issues and things like that. And I thought, those sound really serious. I don't want to do that. I want to do something a bit different and basically whatever I want. So, which is why it has a bit of an ambiguous name, because I wanted it just to be random, whoever I'm, either whether it's you or with another guest, I just kind of want it to be, let's talk about whatever. This week we're going to talk about a few things, but then next time I record one, I imagine I'm going to talk about completely different things.
It's very much spur of the moment, and that's the nice thing about podcasts. There's a lot that are either football related, film related, video gaming related, for instance. and they tend to be very focused, very specialised. But the nice thing about some podcasts is actually it's not necessarily, and I think for podcasts that are successful, it's not the topic you're listening to, it's actually the people doing the podcast, and it's more that friendship, that randomness. It's the unscripted moments that always make you go, that was funny, I'll watch that again, I'll listen to that again. And that's the bit where hopefully this podcast will be more in conversation with.
That's kind of exactly the point. Just me talking to my friends, having cool chats about whatever. And that was why I decided to just sort of name it something completely random rather than anything like related, which is where historically accurate sandcastles.
Is this a segue? Is this going to be a segue for us?
I am going to interrupt this segue very briefly to shout at you because I literally told you to put your face towards the mic and you're not doing it. And I'm going to keep that in the podcast because I want people to know and I want you to be ashamed.
Okay, fine.
You keep moving.
Okay. I mean, again, my problem is I'm people watching because that's the best thing to do in parks.
Yep.
And if you probably listen to any of the footage from the Birmingham podcast as well, you'll notice that my voice tends to be thrown somewhat. And that's not me being a fantastic ventriloquist or anything of that degree. It's more the fact I keep going, what's over here?
It's really annoying because this is just giving me so many issues with my editing. This is already a very bare bones podcast. It's not professional. I don't have 2 microphones. We're not in a studio. We're outside in a park. And I've got 1 voice recorder that we're sharing.
For context, we will also be doing some indoor studio. We'll be doing somewhere we are indoors, whether that be a pub or whether that be a studio, or we'll try and be a bit more professional with future, but it's just nice to get some content out there.
For portability, 1 mic will do.
It's perfect.
But you need to put your face towards the mic when you're talking.
Fine.
Okay. Anyway, back to the segue. So, Historically Accurate Sandcastles is the name of the podcast.
Yes.
An odd name, some might think, because it is a podcast not about sandcastles, historically accurate or otherwise. But
that's the tagline.
That is literally the tagline. That's the tagline. So there is a reason why it's called that. Well, there's not really a reason, but there is a story behind the inspiration of the name.
Yes.
Which involves you.
Yes.
Involves us together.
Yes.
So clearly, as you're my first guest, now is obviously a good time to explain to the
many listeners from around the world.
You've already broken the first rule of radio and podcasting.
Have I?
You you're supposed to pretend there's only 1 person listening.
Oh really?
Yeah, apparently.
Interesting.
I was told this the other day.
Really?
So you're not supposed to say hi everyone or hi guys. You're supposed to try and build a relationship with each individual listener.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah, we got told off.
Oh really?
At the radio. Well, not told off. We were just like
informed,
politely reminded that to stop going, hey guys, you're supposed to be like, hello. Because you're trying to build a relationship with the one listener.
Oh, I see.
I didn't know
that.
That's
a good one. I like that.
I didn't think of that.
Even though you sort of think you'd want to acknowledge the
that's
fact that
exactly
you were...
what I thought, because obviously lots of people are going to be listening. Well, not necessarily to this, but like if you're on the radio, you assume there's going to be at least more than 1 person listening.
Hopefully, I'm hoping for double figures.
Anyway, see, that's one of not our problems, but we are very good at tangents.
Yes, this is what content will be. It won't. This is why it has to be slightly random, because even as you'll probably find out later when we talk about a couple of our topics we've got to talk about, there's actually a lot of tangents because we have some things to say.
We absolutely
We
have a lot of opinions.
Yeah, and we quite like saying them. So it tangents off into sort of, a dog has just walked through the park. Let's talk about dogs.
I'd love to know what all these people think of us, because we're literally surrounded by people. They're a bit too far away to properly hear us, but they're going to see me and you sat on a park bench with a microphone.
Well, hopefully as long as we don't have a repeat of Birmingham.
Oh,
that wasn't helpful.
A guy came up to us and just started talking, but like talking really quietly. And we have no idea what he was saying, but we think he mistook Thomas for someone else.
500 likes and we'll upload that footage.
Jesus Christ.
On this podcast, 500 likes.
Wow.
So that's a shout-out challenge.
That was a cheap move.
If you want to hear the footage of a random man asking us questions that, we can't hear, you definitely can't.
We couldn't hear at the time, so you definitely aren't going to be able to hear them on the recording.
But it's a one-sided conversation you'll love to see. Here. Anyway.
Back to the segue. Historically accurate sandcastles. Yeah. Why don't you explain, with as few tangents as possible, why it's called that?
So, we went to Abu Dhabi because we like day trips. And in fact, you were on holiday with your family.
I was on a family holiday to Abu Dhabi. We went camping and you said, would you like me to come to Abu Dhabi? And I went, please,
Yeah.
because I'm sick of living in a tent.
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, tents are lovely, but not necessarily on the Welsh coast in, what month was it? It wasn't that warm.
August.
August. It wasn't
It
that
was
warm.
it was very wet. It was
Yeah.
it was literally the only week of August where it was not blisteringly hot and sunny. But
it is the archetypal Welsh holiday
You-
in campsite.
you know what? I like camping. I don't mind camping, but I think it's because we were camping for it had already been like 5 days at that point, and that when I was like, I'm reaching my breaking point, I'd like to go home now. So I think you came up on like the Tuesday or the Wednesday.
Yeah.
You got the train, and we met in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
And I ditched my family for a day so I could hang out with you.
Which, as decisions go, is a good one, because my mate from work, William Jones, is a fully trained professional chef, even though he is now depot manager for the company I work at. And he lives in Abu Dhabi, and he's very good for giving recommendations about where to go, what to do. And he said, well, if you're going to Abu Dhabi and you want to have brunch, go to this place, which the name still to this day escapes me.
You know what? I should have looked it up in prep, because I knew we were going to talk about this today, so I should have looked it up.
So
It was a cafe.
I mean, we weren't sponsored, so I won't give them a shout out. So we'll say that's our excuse for not doing that. But we had brunch there. I had mushrooms on toast with bacon, which is my favourite
Literally
breakfast
your
food.
classic.
Yeah.
I had breakfast pizza.
Which
I
never
had
heard of before.
I have never heard of before, but I'm desperate to have again because good grief, it was delicious. And even like the coffee was really good. So I had a great time.
It was one of those restaurants that very cliche, seaside, very, I want to say...
It was like posh seaside town restaurant. I've never really been to anywhere like that because we don't really go out for dinner.
Think more gastro cafe.
Yeah.
Not gastro pub, but more. I mean, their evening menu looked stunning.
Yeah.
The ribs.
We will have to go back at some point purely to eat there.
Yeah, and lovely location, nice view of the harbour. Very beautiful. Abu Dhabi is rather beautiful.
Abu Dhabi is a gorgeous little. I don't even want to call it a town. I'd say it's more of like a little. It's. I don't even know if it's even a
Deceptively
village.
small.
Yeah, well, you thought it was Barmouth, didn't you?
Yes.
We were after we had breakfast. We went for a walk around Abu Dhabi, and you were like, "Where is the rest of it?" And I was like, "Nah, this is it, mate." Like, there's literally 3 houses, the beach, and like an ice cream shop, and that's Abu Dhabi.
And a couple of pubs and a few clothing shops, and I think even a bookshop. But
There's not a lot there. It's
No.
very much a twee seaside town. You go to the beach, and it is a lovely beach actually. There's lots of little There's like the main beach, but then if you keep walking further down, there's like loads of sand dunes and little hideaways, and it's very nice. Good for crabbing too, which my family very frequently does. So yes, we had breakfast.
Had breakfast.
I broke my phone.
Yes, because
You went to the loo,
Yeah.
and I, as you do when you're waiting for someone to come out of the toilet, you have a cheeky look on your phone, scroll through Twitter. And I took my phone out of my pocket and immediately managed to just lose grip of it and launched it, and it landed face down on concrete, and it smashed the screen. So that was fun. That was was not great.
No. So we did that and went onto the beach, which you've very well described. And as we walked along, and very nice, lots of sun, sea, surf, people playing, got as far along the beach as we wanted to and went to walk back. And as we walked back, there was a small child on our right-hand side who was building a sandcastle. And I turned to you and said, when I was younger on holiday in France at St. Malo or around Brittany and Normandy, I used to build sandcastles, but mine were historically accurate sandcastles. And thus the idea was born.
I mean, I just think it's one of the funniest things you've ever said to me, because the way you said it, just like, well, I built historically accurate sandcastles, so that child's sandcastles are terrible. It was just the way you said it. It was really funny.
I mean,
and because I have a note on my phone where I write down either funny things you've done or like nice things you've done. I've stopped doing it now because you did too many things and I got too much to put them all down, so I did stop. But I've got a really long list of all things, like funny things you've said, and historical accurate sandcastles made it onto there because it was just hilarious how much shade you were throwing at the small boy's sandcastle because yours were historically accurate.
I mean, to paint you a picture, dear listener, it was nothing more than a bit of a ditch and a bucket sort of tower in the middle with maybe a few walls. And I don't know about you, but that's a nice attempt at probably about a 1070 Norman castle. But really not quite had the Mott element of the Mott and Bailey design. I mean, as people might come to know from these podcasts, I have a lot to say about castles. I have a lot to say about history.
You might be surprised to learn that Thomas likes history.
I have a degree in military history, so I
would like to point out that I also have a degree in history, but I'm not as mad on it as you.
No, but your history in a sense is more interesting than mine.
It's absolutely more interesting than yours, because yours is about military and battles and really boring stuff. My degree was about Georgian lesbians.
So that's the thing. I must admit, I do say some things which are quite funny.
I never know what you're going to say.
No.
And it's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, even walking here today, you do you, boo, was quite good.
Yeah.
Which apparently was funny. I thought it was just being sweet myself. No, but...
You're making me sound mean.
But, no. The historically accurate sandcastle, so as we walked, it was just
something
in
a
passing.
throwaway conversation we were having on the beach.
Yeah,
but it stuck with me because it was so funny.
It's very silly. It's got a little bit of... it's the best bit of humour. It's got a little bit of truth in it. I mean, I did used to build sandcastles. I mean, the full story of my childhood holidays, I used to build sandcastles just below the tide line, and you had to build the best castle to basically withstand the sea coming in. So you'd always lose, so you could then go to the restaurant and have proper nice French food. But you always tried to build the best you could, so ditches, moats, double walls, height of the walls, and then the big central pillar, and you had to sit inside it and basically withstand as much as possible. So I mean, I had a great time with it, but it's just one of those small, slightly throwaway lines that at the time seems very funny. And it was. Weirdly.
You know what? It was just, I think, because it was just such a nice day as well. Not to be like sappy or anything, but it was a lovely day. And it's just stuck with me. And I was like, when I was trying to think up names for podcasts, it was kind of at the top of the list. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going with that.
See, now I think we need to do a podcast on rejected podcast titles. And basically go through the list and debate which other of these phrases could have made the cut. I
had one last night. I'd thought of one. I was like, oh, in another world, that would have been what my podcast was called. But I've since forgotten it. So I don't know what it was, but I bet it was amazing.
Well, it'll have to be a tangent. It'll have to be a thing for each of the end of the podcasts we do, or that I'm in. And you'll maybe have to keep a list of things that other people say for when they guessed.
Yeah.
But explaining a thing I've said and getting
get the list out.
Get the list out, and basically at the end of every podcast I'm in, get me to explain why I've said that, why I thought that was A, funny, or B, possibly appropriate.
I mean, that would be quite hilarious, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be a lot of material and content because, again, I seem to generate content, apparently.
You literally goldmine.
Yeah.
Goldmine. That's why people get into relationships, isn't it?
I was going to say, I literally just thought, that's why she's dating me. Damn it, that's why she's dating me.
Because you know I'm a writer. I write plays and scripts. Just gold, comedy gold is everything you've ever said. Just going into. But to be fair, I did that at work. So I used to work in an office before I did this masters, which I know you know. But I used to work in an office as an admin. And
for our dear listener, just
you. Hey, you're learning. I love this. So yeah, I used to work in an office as an admin, and people would say, and things would happen that were just crazy. If you've ever worked in an office, I think it's the same. But things would just happen, and the people I worked with were all mad as boxes of frogs, which, brilliant, loved them, but they were all absolutely mad. So every time something weird or funny happened, or someone said something funny, I'd write it down, and eventually I'm going to turn it into a sitcom. But I haven't got around to writing that yet. But one day I will. I mean, I just write down things that people say to me because there's no greater comedy than real life.
Yeah.
Real life is funniest, and no matter what.
You'll never write the real script.
You will never write the. I mean, so obviously, like there are a lot of really well written comedies and a lot of really well written jokes. But to me, the funniest thing in the world is stuff that people just come out with. So yeah, that's why it's called what it's called. Yes. Again, it doesn't really have anything bearing on the actual podcast. I just thought it was funny. So moving swiftly on, this morning. We went to go see Frozen 2.
Yes.
Literally very recently out, recently released. And we thought we'd have a bit of a chat about that. Shall we now? Do we need to go spoiler free? I think we need to be spoiler free. With maybe how about mild spoilers? Well, so nothing major.
I mean, it depends when you want to put this out. I would probably go not mild. We won't ruin it. But we'll certainly talk in themes that, I'll be honest, and this is half the problem with Frozen 2 is the whole point, you can kind of guess what's happening.
I guessed. I mean, at one point something happened and I leaned over to you and was like, called it. Because I did. There are two sort of big-ish plot points, I'd say like mid-range plot points I clocked as soon as they said them. I was like, yeah, that's going to happen. But I really liked it. I enjoyed it.
The point I was going to make was... And to go into sort of the context of Frozen 2, I had read a few reviews press reviews, The Guardian was the main one. The Guardian ran 2, actually, which I thought were interesting. The first one was, it's almost getting to the point of the selling out. And the second one was going for more of a positive, approaching interesting subjects, moving the conversation forward, making Frozen more ready for the next one. And that's kind of my point on Frozen 2.
That's what you said sort of when it finished, when we were talking about it. You were like, it feels almost like a 1.5.
Yes.
And that there's definitely going to be a third one. Like, this was sort of more set up and back, because there was a lot of backstory in this, a lot of explaining kind of like how, well, why Elsa has her powers and things like that.
Is it better than the first one? Yes.
I think so.
I think it actually is, because of the development.
Yeah.
Where the first one was a flash in the pan, I don't think they ever thought it would take off the way it did.
No, I think it was a surprise to everyone, because there was a lot like the Frozen fever. And it was a good film, don't get me wrong. I don't think it was quite worth the hype it got.
It was
Personally, there are better Disney films.
Oh, there are definitely better Disney films. I think it's definitely the Disney film that we need for the modern age. There are definitely Disney films in the past that are better, and will continue to be better for a very long time. Mulan
is one of my favourites.
For much of those reasons, really. But Frozen was a real, I think, a one-shot that if it didn't work, because it was always the one that Walt Disney said he could never get to work. The Snow Queen, he tried to adapt it 3 times, and each time it never quite got past the drawing board. So, to give a bit of context to Frozen in itself, I've always been fascinated that A, it worked.
Yeah.
And B, that the fact that I think Disney was shocked that it worked so well. And I think this is why to call Frozen 2 Frozen 1.5 is actually fair.
Yeah.
Because it's padded out a lot of the stuff you need to then do. Marvel Cinematic Universe style.
Yeah.
You needed to world build, because there was so much.
I feel like in Frozen 1, we didn't know a lot about anything. All we knew was that Elsa had ice powers, and she didn't really know how to use them.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. And that was the basis of the film, that she had powers that didn't know how to use, and then she had to be saved by her sister kind of thing. But in this film, we learn not only more about like the kingdom, but like just about the people and the magic of it, because there was kind of not, the only magic in the first film was Elsa and, you know, the trolls.
Yeah.
But in this film, there was other magic, like sort of world magic, and it's about a magic forest. That's not a spoiler, I think that's in the trailer.
Yeah. And almost in context, when you watch the trailer, there's no overarching villain that you see.
No.
And that's actually quite an interesting point. It's not actually about a good versus evil, a villain. It's genuinely world building. You're having to turn around and go, well, this is this, that's that.
It's context.
Who are these people? Why is this a thing?
Yeah.
And as you've seen from the trailer, there's some bits that you're going, the elements and the forest being a thing, and actually it's more not just about the forest, it's about Arendelle. Why is this even,
like you say, it's world building.
Yeah.
And I think that was quite needed, because as much as their characters are good, we know, I mean, we didn't know a lot about the characters from the first film, but we got enough of them to understand, and then it very much needed to be the environment. We needed to know more about that. We needed to know more about magic and how that worked, and more about, we learn a lot about their parents. We won't spoil anything, but their parents are quite a big feature of it, at least, you know, in the backstory context kind of way.
Well, that was the thing. Every review I've read, it opens with the parents, and actually it very quickly glosses over, and I think that's important, because as important as those scenes are, they're not defining, but they are
supplementary.
They are supplementary, but it's supplementary that you desperately need.
Yeah.
And that's going back to the Frozen 1. Frozen 1 was brilliant, but it was very much, that's it, that's your shot.
Yeah, it was a film. Yeah, it was just a film. But then this, I think, really expanded on it to the point where, I mean, there's probably going to be a third Frozen film.
Fourth.
But you could have so many other films now that they've blown the world out.
Yeah.
About like their parents, or about the people that they introduce in that live in the forest, or just about Arendelle itself. I feel like, whether they would or not, I don't know if that's in the sort of, that's not very the Frozen vein. I don't think they're more, Anna and Elsa are they're I hate to say it, cash bringers, but they are.
A friend of mine who is a film critic, Chris Small, reckons and has told me this theory that Disney are looking to build a Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is why it just jumped to mind, with the Disney princesses. Wreck-It Ralph wrecks the internet?
Yeah.
Or breaks the internet.
The internet, yeah.
Where, I can't remember her name, Princess... Penelope.
She meets all the other princesses, yeah.
And it's... That went down very well, lots of fandom
everyone
noise.
liked that.
And of course, if Disney's sitting around going,
That
well,
worked,
if that
yeah.
worked, that wasn't seen as a cash in, that was seen as, you'd have to work out how to do it, but in the same breadth of, I mean, people, when they write fan fiction, for instance, always set the Disney princesses in 21st century
Yeah.
city living.
Yeah.
And not necessarily them in their characters, but
Yeah.
the characters' traits in the 21st century.
And that could work very well. Like, well, I mean, they have had. So I don't know how familiar you are with the films, The Descendants.
Mm-hmm.
They're Disney Channel original films, and they're
Right.
all based. They're based on the Disney characters.
Yeah.
But they're all. So it's all like the villains are all together, and the villains all had kids, and then all the princesses had kids, and it's about the kids. But in that universe, they are all in the same place. And they're all in the same place, and they all live together. And then also, I don't know, Once Upon a Time,
Yes.
TV series.
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
that's basically Disney.
Yeah.
They're all in the same kingdom. So
Yeah.
it's not necessary. It's something they've done before, and so it's whether or not they take that extra leap and actually do a film about the Disney princesses together and how they would do that.
And that's kind of going back to the point of Frozen 2. It's more fleshing out what was a fantastic film
Yeah.
into what we're going to do in the future. And did Frozen 2 get anything dramatically brand new? Not in sense of there's not going to be the new villain. It's not going to be the one that you remember, but it's the one that you watch to enjoy the rest of them.
I definitely like that one more than the first one. It was very much sort of quest. There was when the teaser trailer came out. There's a guy I follow on Twitter called Luke Westaway. He's a YouTuber, and he was like, I love how Frozen is no longer whimsy. Death to whimsy, give me quests.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I feel that, because it was very much like a grand adventure rather than Anna climbing up a mountain to get Elsa back to come home.
Yeah, it's been described more as almost like a D&D role-playing.
Yeah, and I
film.
quite like that.
It's more the fact of you've got to deal with situations rather than there's a big overriding threat that will wipe out the king. There's a bit of that, but
that's not the main thing.
No.
No.
And nor is it they're doing the thing. It's a genuine. Everybody in this has a real role to play.
Yeah, I agree, and I really liked the music. I thought the music was a great continuation of the soundtrack.
I'm going to put it out there. I'm so pleased they never tried to do another Let It Go.
You know, I
will pull out. There's no song that will be as good or as annoyingly catchy.
I didn't think Let It Go was that good of a song.
No.
Opinion. It was it was fine. It was a good song, and it was sung very well. But it was just solidly fine.
Let It Go just has so many undertones of. I mean, you could go through the list of feminine issues, gender issues, age. So much you could go with a sort of. It's a theme song, or it's a motivational song for a lot of people. Is it a good song? No, not really. It's just fine.
I feel like the songs in Frozen 2 fit the film a lot better.
Yes.
From like a music snobbery point of view,
yeah.
The songs made more sense.
Yes.
And because like we were saying before, Frozen 1 was very much Anna's film.
Yeah.
Frozen 2 is very much Elsa's film.
Yes.
And so she got some really great moments. Well, they all got good moments, to be fair. And they all got some good songs. But like Elsa, I think she had 2-3 solo songs. Both excellent and clearly written for Idina Menzel, who voices Elsa, because she has an incredible voice. But I think the songs just fit more effortlessly.
This time, yes.
Apart from possibly Kristoff's song. So Kristoff actually gets a solo in this one, which he didn't in the first one, because they forgot to write a song for him, despite being voiced by Jonathan Groff, who is a Broadway, I don't want to say legend, but he is a big Broadway guy, big singer. They didn't write a song for him. But in this one, so he got a song. That was the only, as much as I liked it, and I thought it was good and funny, I don't think that song fit. And I think if...
It fits in the tangent of what his character's trying to do.
Yeah.
The problem is what his character's trying to do is almost, and it's the cliche, it's the one marketing executive sitting in the back of the boardroom going, well, guys, we know she's a lesbian. We know she's probably going to find a girlfriend in... Frozen 3.
This is Elsa now.
This is Elsa.
Yeah.
So we know this is going to happen, but we still need a guy and a girl to get married.
Yeah.
And we still need that to be.
I mean, I wasn't mad about it. I wasn't
mad
about it.
It's not the fact I'm mad about it at all. I think it's just it's fine.
Yeah.
It's just the fact there's a marketing executive somewhere going, we can't shock Middle America all at once.
Yeah.
There's got to be something that's still.
Yeah.
A tangent to this. It's basically still revolving around two sisters sorting out the world.
Yeah.
And empowerment and all the rest of it. that you still need the guy there just to be a guy.
I mean,
just,
to be
just
fair,
to keep people happy.
To be fair, he doesn't do a lot. He didn't really do a lot in the first film. It is very much Anna saves the day again.
Oh yeah.
In this film too.
But I think he does more than the first one.
Yeah.
In that he's not just a supporting character now. He's definitely part of the team.
Yeah.
But he will obviously be upstaged by Olaf, and
always, yeah.
because of what Olaf is.
I mean, Olaf is always going to be the kids' character because, I mean, when we were in the cinema, it was all kids and families, and every time Olaf did anything, they all howled with laughter.
Olaf's character is annoying if you're not under the age of about 12.
I don't think he was annoying. I just think there was a lot of times where I was like, okay, so that's the comic relief for the kids.
This does nothing for the plot.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, okay, cool, sure, okay, fine. Cool, I can sit through it because I get it's technically a kids' film. But no, I liked it. I liked, again, not going into spoilers, but I liked Elsa's journey. I enjoyed watching her do her thing.
And actually meaningfully do a thing. Now that she's got the thing, it might have been very easy for her just to exist. If you watch...
absolutely.
A Frozen Christmas?
What's the Frozen Ever After?
Frozen Ever After.
Yeah.
If you watch that it was on the Disney Channel.
It's
very... She just exists. She doesn't do anything. And it's all the minor characters. It's a bit sort of... But this is such a great character that... And that's again why I'm going to call this Frozen 1.5. There needed to be a lot more to explain so much.
Yeah.
And now it all makes sense.
Oh, I agree.
Now it all...
Yeah.
You will watch Frozen 1 again, and I want to do that.
Yeah.
And go, okay, good. I mean, you could guess, as you say, it's fairly obvious. It will not... You'll see it and you'll go, oh, yeah. And the more obviously you look at certain things, you'll go, okay, that's the MacGuffin item. Cool. The MacGuffin item is blatant, but not in a spoilery way. It's just okay, that makes sense. And you don't feel sorry for those characters. You feel that was the decision they had to make because it was scary because of what another character had done and the extent that character had gone to, and are desperate not to repeat it again.
Yeah.
Because every time anybody talks about magic in the Frozen universe, it will be bad. It will kill people. If it goes wrong, it's game over.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that, and again, not to be too spoiler about it, that's actually not the problem.
No.
And that's another thing that's, when you look at Disney films, it's usually that magic can be a problem or over-exuberance can be a problem.
Yeah.
And it's nice and refreshing that once again, it's not.
Well, I think this isn't a spoiler because I've seen a clip of it on the internet. There's at the very beginning, just as they're about to embark on their adventure, the troll's just like, before we thought Elsa's powers would be too much for her, but now I pray that they're enough.
Yeah.
And I think you feel that, like, it's no longer about magic being bad and she'll lose herself to the magic. It's more about, crap, can she actually save us?
And there will be a few articles online that revolve around the villain. And it's not.
There
it's
really
not,
isn't a
there
villain
isn't a villain.
Well, there is, but no spoilers. Technically.
There's a villain, but it's the sort of villain that fits more into the...
It was the same kind of villain as Frozen 1. So, obviously Hans turned out to be the villain, technically, but you spent the whole film not realising he was a villain.
Well, you wouldn't...
And you weren't supposed to.
No.
And that was kind of the same thing in Frozen 2.
You won't know who the villain is until it's all explained, and you suddenly go...
And even then, he wasn't even, like, the main villain. It was just, he was the bad guy.
And it's not necessarily a person, it's more themes. And that's what I do like about the Frozen.
Yeah.
It challenges themes, it challenges
I'd agree with
ideas. And that's why I think this one's better, because where the previous one was stereotypical, and that's the problem. You look at the Frozen characters, and as two princesses, they look exactly the same bland, boring Disney princesses that you will see every 5 seconds. Until they move, until they open their mouth, until they actually exist. And that's the same problem with all of this. You would, when the character appears on screen that is blatantly the villain, you go, oh, okay, fine, not a problem, heroic, brilliant, yes, doing the thing, great, wonderful. But again, it's the theme of what they're doing that's the problem. It's not necessarily that person is the villain, it's the thing and the context against the princesses being enlightened, positive, willing to make things work. that is the heroes. Again, it's not necessarily what they do, it's more the fact what they don't do wrong.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting point when you're talking about villain, to bring up when we were walking to town after the cinema, and we said about Anna possibly. So we had a bit of a theory that the third film will feature some kind of actual tangible villain, and we thought perhaps in some way, I don't know how, this is just a theory, we haven't done any actual real thoughts about it, but maybe Anna would somehow get powers. So she's got red hair, so what if she gets fire powers? And what if, in like the themes of Frozen, what if she gets powers and can't handle them, it becomes too much for her, and she becomes like an accidental villain that Elsa then has to save, because it's always been the other way around. It's always been Anna saving Elsa.
Yeah.
So what if in our fictional theory of a third film, what if Anna, like, you know, the powers consume her, she doesn't become herself, she gets taken over by this magic.
And that's an interesting one. Again, no spoilers, but it's a very pointed line at the end of the film that is very much a case of you're doing it again for me. And it's that sort of, okay, why are we mentioning that when it's actually
so
what's next? And especially the way that it ends and the roles these characters take on.
Yeah.
You start going, well, okay then.
I think
if that's how it's gone in the past, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, I know it's just a theory, but I definitely think it might have a bit of legs.
There's got to be something more to it, because if anything, you're now looking at potentially, if the rumours are true and we're going to have a proper lesbian relationship in a Disney film.
Yeah.
When you've got such a tight bond between two sisters, does that relationship have a kickback that Elsa will have to overcome to basically put the sister aside? And does that spark anything in Anna because of the position she's now been put in, the position that she has taken on? Is that now going to be a drain on her anyway? She's now going to have to go through the rigmarole. It's not a spoiler, they get married. He proposes. That is blatant. It's again, there is a marketing.
Disney, of course Disney. They get married.
There is a marketing executive going, this has to still be.
But I think what is interesting is that, so when you look at Elsa's powers, and obviously ice freezy powers, her powers have always been her fear.
Yeah.
So when she gets scared, that's when she can't control them, and that's when they burst out of her. But what we've seen in Anna in both films is Anna gets angry.
Yes.
So what if her powers are triggered by her anger?
Yes, and of course anger is very much a different type of element.
Yeah. So whereas Elsa is ruled by her fear, and I'm not saying Anna is ruled by her anger, but she does have anger. She does have angry moments.
Yeah, big time.
Which, I mean, to be fair to her, fair enough, because of the stuff she goes through.
Oh yeah.
But like, what if?
There's a few moments in this one where you're really going, oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Really? This isn't just.
And so what if in our fictional third film, that's what sparks power?
Suddenly it's not just that you're no longer completely in my picture anymore.
Yeah.
You're now with someone else.
Yeah.
And that's and actually and not that you get, it's a cliche that when you get in a relationship you forget your friends or you forget family members or people.
But it would work.
It would work in terms of there's got to be an angle of jealousy. Because you've got to deal with, and again, if you were of an LGBT persuasion or of a few other people who can relate to Elsa's character, the whole, and again, it's not really spoilery, you know what's happening anyway, it's a pretty obvious system. Some of the songs, some of the things that happens, and she says that she's being called to another thing.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're going to be talking about feeling like trapped inside that closet or trapped inside that world and you're trying to get out.
Yeah.
And if the people around you cause you issues that make you go, well, I'm trying to do this thing and they're acting badly, potentially you've got somebody to fulfill that role of reacting badly to that development.
It would work. It would definitely work. Especially when you consider, you know, Anna went her whole life not having her sister around, which is a point in the first film. So, and then she's sort of only just got her back. And so if Elsa was then disappearing to hang out with her love interest, woman or not, you know, like whether they are going to go for it and have the lesbian princess or if they're going to play it safe and have a guy, I don't know. But whoever it may be, I feel like that would spark something in Anna, and that's when we might get some conflict.
Well, that's kind of the whole problem of this film. It's desperately crying out for some. Frozen 2 is desperately crying out for some real conflict, and that's why is 1.5.
Yeah.
There is nothing necessarily in this film that you would turn it, and almost to the point of I'd even watch Frozen 2 before watching Frozen 1. Just
to get the context.
Just to get the context. And I wouldn't watch it all, mate, but the first 20 minutes are really, okay, fine.
Yeah. I think as well, when, this is just from what I've read about on like the internet and stuff like that, but when they were like creating the first film and creating the story and the script and stuff like that, there was like a draft of the film which had a lot more conflict between the two of them. So I think that one of the original ideas was the heir and the spare. So like Anna felt very sort of rejected and unloved kind of thing because she was just the spare. And then there was a song, so in the place of what in the film is for the first time in reprise where Anna gets to the castle, there was a different song there originally, which is a lot more angry and a lot more conflict filled, and both of them like getting at each other for Anna, like Elsa ditching her, and then Elsa trying to have her powers, and Anna suggests that maybe she should just stop being magic and that would fix everything. Is the gist of the song, and it's a lot more angry and a lot more just very not in keeping with sort of the first Frozen film and what they've got now, but it shows that they've thought about it. And the writers could go there because they already have. I've listened. I'll play it to you later. It's a really good song. They recorded a demo of it, and I kind of wish it wasn't the film in a way because it's an excellent song.
But it's the same breadth with Let It Go. The original version of Let It Go is a very different tonal.
Yeah.
It is. It isn't the liberation, the freedom. It's actually, it's aggressive.
Yeah. No.
It's a put down of, how dare you try and it's not just the past is in the past. No, past is in the, it's done. I'm done with this. I
think there's a lot of places they could go, and a lot of places that they've clearly thought about going to, like the script team and the Disney people, whoever writes these things and comes up with these stories. They've had a lot of ideas, and some of them have come through in like the concept and the demos and original drafts of the story that they have released as like behind the scenes bits. So they've clearly gone there. And it's whether they will go there again.
I think there's a lot of Frozen 2 that should have been in Frozen 1, but they didn't have the time.
No.
I get the feeling that if Frozen 1 was known to be the success it was going to be, it would be not a bit longer, but there would definitely be more things put in that would make sense.
But then saying that, I feel like Frozen 1 had to be how it is.
Oh yeah.
If they put too much in it, I don't think people would have sort of been as receptive to it as they were. I think Frozen, not saying it was perfect and that it was a perfect film, but it was perfect for what it was.
Yeah.
I think what they had in there, fine. They could have done with a couple more songs. Yeah. In my opinion, because I like songs. And when you have
it's a musical.
When you have musical films whereby they stop singing about halfway through, it really irritates me because it's like, no, you are a musical film. The only time where that's happened and I've not been mad about it is in Mulan. Because if you'll notice, they stop singing about halfway through after A Girl Worth Fighting For. From then, there's no more songs in the film. That's because the film changes. It's no longer a musical. It is about a war film. And at that point, you actually see the horror of war because they stumble on the village that's been destroyed. And so they stop singing, they stop having a jolly time, and it becomes serious. And that's the only time I've ever been fine with it because it served a purpose.
It's a tonal shift.
Yeah, it changed. Like it marked the end of what was the film and put in the new film, which was about war. Yeah. Which, in my opinion, it's stunning. I love it when stuff like that happens. But if you just stop singing because you couldn't figure out how to get more songs in, it really bugs me. Like loads of films do it, and it just gets on my nerves. Because like, if you're a musical film, be more musical. Have one more song. You've got to have a song.
Yes, and in a certain sense, I think that even Frozen 2 could have done with one or two more songs. I can't remember the song at the end.
I think it was just another
reprise of the
that one.
Yeah, which
fine.
Yeah, I there feels like there's a lot more now to come from the real 3.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm now looking forward to. So in that sense, would I go and watch it? Yes, of course. Would I watch Frozen 1 again because of it? Yes. Even more so. No, good, enjoyable, really.
I really liked it. I thought it was a good film. I'm probably going to end up seeing it again.
Yes.
Purely because people want to see it again, or see it for the first time. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come with you. But no, I really liked it. I thought it was a good film, and we've had very insightful chat about this film. I'm quite proud of us.
But if it had been a real, in the back of my mind, I had visions of it being a real standalone film, and it hasn't been. And it's been quite nice to place it into the context of one beforehand, and it's very strange for. I can't remember another Disney film of the like, even Pixar to a certain extent, or other animated studios, where you're not talking about Frozen 2, you're talking about Frozen 3 and 4, because that's more important, because they know they can't rush what will become a landmark, groundbreaking, and let's be honest here, it is 99.9% certain that at some point Frozen 3, if not definitely 4, you will have the first lesbian character on, and I'll be honest, that's something close to my heart.
Yeah, no, I agree, same.
Yeah, so whether then we get onto the full range of the spectrum, even if it's not even a lesbian relationship, it's a bisexual relationship.
Yeah,
that would be interesting.
even that. The thing is, I think it's time.
Yeah.
For like a gay character, a gay princess, it's time.
Yeah.
And I think this is the perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
Whether they have already thought that and are like, yeah, we're going to do it, don't know, because obviously we don't know what the Disney people are thinking. But it's definitely... well, I can't remember who I was speaking to the other day, but so there's a character in it, the general.
Yes.
Being a black guy.
Yeah.
Apparently that's big.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember who I was talking to, and I can't remember... They did show me like an article, but apparently having him as like a background black character is big. Because he's a black character for no reason. Like, you know what I mean? There was no reason behind him being black, he just was, which, obviously is real life. And so... I can't think of, and again, maybe I didn't notice having looked on screen, I can't think of Frozen 1 and 2 of any other characters that were black. There were black background characters.
Okay.
But there were not any main ones.
Okay.
So this guy being a main character who was black for no other reason than because he was black, as is life and as it should be. And also they did... We saw this at the end of the credits. Sami, is that how you say it? Sami people? I know they had a contract with them to make sure they got it right and got the culture right.
Yes.
So clearly they're learning. Because I know one of the big criticisms of Frozen 1 was that they didn't really represent the culture properly, and they didn't represent society necessarily properly. So clearly they're learning from that, which is great. And so, like I say, it's time, and I think now is the best time to do it because they have the opportunity. There was opportunity to do it in Frozen 2. I could see why they didn't took it, but like as we're saying, it was built up, it was context, it was set up. But there was opportunity for something there, but they didn't. So I feel like Frozen 3. It's going to be it. It's got
to be. And actually, it's not just it's 2019, it's the woke bits. Disney is aware that your new generation of fans want to listen, want to have characters that are representative. And when you're going to school, when it's become normalised, which it has.
It's getting there.
Yeah, and it is not a shock.
No.
Having taught in schools for a bit when I was younger, it wasn't a shock.
No.
That so-and-so might like so-and-so. And that's something that's, I think our generation is going to be the real sort of turning point of that, tipping the 50-50 scales the other way. That it's acceptable, it's just fine, it's just part of life.
It is.
And Disney has always been very clever on being trend.
Absolutely.
And that's what's now changing. And you're having to make the films for the audience of today rather than the audience that don't really care.
Yeah.
And for the people who are going to be offended, aren't going to watch it anyway.
No.
But they're not the cash money they're appealing to.
Exactly.
Again, they're riding the wave of something anyway, which, you can be cynical about. I mean, just a pure tangent, the first thing I thought when I saw the Black General was actually Hamilton and George Washington. And now you've said it being a big thing, you're going, well, potentially, is it because of Hamilton and the fact that...
Well...
Or the fact that it's now normalised that you have your characters... I mean, the idea that George Washington is portrayed as by a black man.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, that's not good. But of course, it's now fine.
It's fine, yeah. And
there's not been
Hamilton, I think, did a lot for that because no one cares. No one cared because it works. Obviously, like, Hamilton is cast purely by people of colour.
Yeah.
There are a few white people cast in Hamilton by design, which fine with me.
Yeah.
And that's why, so that's kind of one of the things it does. And I think Hamilton being what it is and being as big as it is has definitely helped that. People see that it doesn't matter.
Normalising.
It's about the character. And as well, like, if people don't care if George Washington is portrayed by a black man, in which he is portrayed by a black man in every adaptation of Hamilton I've seen, not that I've seen them all, but I've seen the casting for them all, and they've all been by black guys. Apologies if that's wrong. At least people of colour anyway.
Yeah.
and for people not to bat an eyelid, I think it's perfect. Because especially, again, going off on a bit of a tangent, as someone who did want to be an actress at one point in theatre, and knowing that I don't look like an actress, I'm not like size 2 very pretty girl. Hamilton was my defense. I was going to be, it was going to be like, yeah, well, if George Washington can be black, then Eponine can be fat, like, you know, it's fine. So I think, it's stuff like that. It's normalising it in society, because obviously society is like that. There's gay people, there are people of colour, there are all sorts of people in society, and that's normal, and we don't see that on TV yet. We're getting better, but it's not perfect yet, and it's slowly getting there.
And even, I'll be honest, in the character of the general isn't actually a big part.
No, he's not a big part.
It plays very little, but it's just the fact that he's
there.
And he exists, and of course in the next one he will now have a bigger
Probably,
role.
yeah.
And that's the whole point about Frozen 2. It was introducing a lot of characters that you're going, we'll see you next time. See you next time.
Absolutely. But no.
Or at least a lot of themes.
Yeah, definitely, like we say, it's set up, it's context, we're ready for the third film.
Yeah, which is basically a good review. I give it 4 stars, go see it, watch Frozen 1 again.
Yeah.
It's not going to be groundbreaking, it's not going to be the best film you see this year, but it is certainly going to be a film that you think about for a while afterwards.
Yeah.
Probably when you go to Nando's.
Yeah, I'd agree. No, good. I think we've exhausted our Frozen 2 chat now. I mean, we haven't. We could go on for hours.
Probably.
Because that's the kind of people we are. But I think we've exhausted it for now, for the purposes of this podcast.
Cool.
We will continue to chat over dinner, I am sure.
Yeah.
So I did say I was going to ask you something at the end of the podcast.
You were
going to come completely forgotten.
You were going to come up with a question, and you were going to ask me a random question.
Oh, I remembered the question.
Okay.
So like we say, the podcast is going to be about whatever, but I am going to have a few running themes. So one of my running themes is going to be, I'm going to ask my guest a question.
Yes.
And when I say a question, I mean a dumb question.
Yeah.
Like really stupid.
And she's not told me the question.
I've not told you the question.
So if I and ah at this one, good luck to you.
So, really stupid question.
Yep.
If you could have any fictional character as your best friend, who would it be?
D'Artagnan of the Musketeers.
That was like that. That was quick. Explain why.
Well, I'm now going to go through a list of a few, actually. Because full prefect, I'd like the moss.
I would just like to bear in mind that it is getting darker, so maybe do it quickly.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
But full prefect, played by Moss, I can't remember his surname.
Oh.
In the 2004 Hitchhiker's film.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
Moss, it's not Moss Dent.
I really don't know.
Yeah,
full prefect, anyway.
Full prefect would be one, because I like the idea of having a best friend who's not from Islington, but is actually not from Guildford. Sorry, but is actually from a small planet somewhere in the prefect of Alpha Centauri. I like that because that's the sort of best friend I think I could cope with. D'Artagnan of the Musketeers would just, if not D'Artagnan, it'd be Athos, because Athos is almost. It's the romantic who's been let down by love, alcoholic. He's the man who cannot be. The Count. For Athos it is too much. For the Comte de la Serre it is too little. And I love that style of person. It's a tricky one because I've suddenly thought of quite a few.
Yours is quite an intelligent answer, and like with lots of it. Mine would be Scooby Doo.
No. See, I'm more of a cat person. No, it's not that. I mean Puss in Boots then. No. Tricky.
It's a good question.
Fictional character to be your best friend. I mean Athos, as long as he's played by Oliver Reed.
Obviously.
Because you know Oliver Reed.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Love him to bits. Absolute wastrel and rogue. But it'd be the sort of person that. Your liver would hate you for it, and you'd probably end up doing the same as Ollie Reed did. But you'd just have a whale of a time. I like the idea of full prefect just purely because I think it would fit in my zaniness and randomness, and it would mean I could hitchhike.
I'd agree.
I mean, as best friends go, I've not mentioned Doctor Who, which I'd love. I wouldn't want to be best friends. You'd be best friends with Tennant.
Yeah.
But Nine's the one secretly you'd want.
Yeah, I agree.
Out of the new Who. I mean, actually it'd be Tom Baker. But no, it'd probably actually be Peter Davison you'd want as your best mate.
Oh, yeah.
Because being young and the same sort of age and that rebellion against the world because you're too young to be taken seriously. Tricky. Trying to run for other things. I wouldn't go for anybody from really the Discworld books because I think that's too much of a cliche.
You're really thinking about this.
I like these sort of questions, which is why I'm probably quite a good guest for this.
These are the kind of questions we ask each other when we're just like having tea.
Yeah.
And just want something to talk about.
Yeah.
So we'll just go, so what's your favourite sweet?
Yeah. I mean...
we did rank biscuits once.
We ranked biscuits and then asked the restaurant staff for...
their favourite biscuit.
Which was good because we even got the manager involved,
Yeah,
which
we
I
did.
think was a win.
Final answer.
Final answer, I'm going to go for Louis Knight.
Curveball. Explain who Louis Knight is very briefly.
Yeah, I've just basically done a tangent, haven't I? Louis Knight is a private detective in Aberystwyth set in the 1950s.
They're books.
But it's an alternative reality of Aberystwyth where all the druids wear suits from Swansea, and act much more like a mafia crime syndicate. There's a place called the Moulin where all the
Ladies of the Night.
Lady of the Night, all wearing Welsh national dress costume in their stovepipe hats. And Shrewsbury is a mythical, magical place which no one has ever been to, let alone heard of. More importantly, of course, Aberystwyth has only one escalator, which it continues to do so to this day until it got a Tesco's. And I can remember.
Where's the Tesco in Aberystwyth?
There's the big Tesco's in Aberystwyth, by the railway station.
Oh, yeah, of course there is. Of course there is.
But it got to a genuine point that it was a joke that there was only one escalator in Aberystwyth, and if you're an Aberystwyth University student, you went to Next because you could only go up on the escalator. You had to walk down, and we thought it'd be a good idea, all six of us, to go on this escalator and just up, down, walked out. And the security guard took one look at us and we went, "Well, it's the only escalator in Aberystwyth." And he went, "Oh, yeah." And I went, "Yeah." And I said, "But the next one's Shrewsbury." "Is it? 2 hours? You've got to go 2 hours to find an escalator." Oh. He was genuinely shocked by that.
Yeah.
So we were quite pleased with that. Louis Knight, but there are honourable mentions.
Okay, that's a good answer. I'm quite pleased with that.
Do I have to ask you the same question?
I mean, I've already answered it, Scooby-Doo.
Okay, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
That wasn't your throwaway sort
No,
of...
I love Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
I think when you're going for
Talking dog.
going for a fictional character best friend, I'm going to go with like childhood something or other.
Snoopy then?
No, because Snoopy didn't talk. And Snoopy just slept around. Not slept around. I said slept all day.
Wow. Charlie Brown then,
No,
actually.
Charlie Brown. No, Scooby-Doo all the way. I love Scooby-Doo. I was obsessed with him as a kid. I loved the shows. And I love the films. So yeah, I'd go Scooby-Doo because he's fun.
Okay.
And he likes food, and I like food, and we could eat food together. And there'd be no judgment because that's the kind of loving relationship we'd have. So yeah. Cool. I think that brings us to the end of our podcast.
Perfect. The podcast called?
The podcast called Historically Accurate Sandcastles. That kind of brings us to the end. I think being outside works.
Yeah.
We're currently sat on a bandstand because we got kicked out of the dingle where we were recording it. But I think we're gonna outside podcast a bit more. I think I like the whole quote unquote unprofessional tone that we're kind of going for, because if you want professional podcast recorded in a studio, then listen to something else.
Yeah.
If you want a bit of a laugh,
I mean, listen to ours first.
Yeah.
And then listen to something else.
If you wanted a bit of a laugh recorded outside with terrible audio, with us going off on tangents, because that's what we do, then listen to this one, and I think you'll have a great time, because I've had a great time. So
thank you for having me on the podcast.
Thank you for podding with me, as it were.
Is that the phrase?
It's not.
I hate that phrase.
It's disgusting, isn't
don't
it?
Like that.
You don't want to pod with me?
No.
Do you want to be on the pod?
No. No, because pods are something terrible that you have in offices.
All right, whatever. But yeah, no, thank you for being my guest on this podcast.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, thank you.
I mean, it's some things we're good at. We're good at talking, and we're good at talking together with each other. So it works well.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I have to say
Okay.
on the matter. I don't know if you have anything else to add before we say goodbye.
Mystery biscuits.
I'm sorry?
That's it, that's all I had to add.
That would be a good name for a podcast.
Mystery biscuits.
Mystery biscuits.
I mean, if you get that reference, write in and I will
get that reference. Can you explain it to me once we finish recording?
I will send you a link to the...
Okay.
But if anybody listening to this gets that reference and tells me about it, I will send them a present.
Can I have a present?
If you tell me what the reference is.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, that's kind of it. I hope you've enjoyed our ramblings.
Yeah.
We'll be back, I'm sure, at some point.
We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah. Bye.
Goodbye.